Yo, what's going on, guys? It is your boy Sleeping or Sherbs or whatever you know me by. And today I want to talk about me stopping smoking za. Yes, I put down the za, I put down the gas, I put down the loud after 8 years. Yes, I was smoking za for 8 years and I finally put it down, and I do want to talk about it. And first things first, this is not an anti-weed video. This is not me trying to get you to stop smoking weed. That is the last thing I want to do. Feel free to spark up during this video. I do not mind. Feel free to light up that gas. But this is just me talking about it. So maybe you can learn a thing or two. Maybe you can, compare and contrast and whatnot. So let's get right into it. Now, yes, I stopped smoking weed about a month ago. I just did it for so long. You know what I mean? I started smoking weed in, I think the year was 2018. I think that was my freshman year of high school. I started smoking weed. I did it with a lot of friends. It was like a social event. You know what I mean? It was a lot of fun. I smoked weed with friends, and it wasn't consistent. I wasn't smoking weed consistently. It was just, at a party, at my friend's house. It was a very, twice a month, once a month. It was a very rare thing. And I liked it. We were having fun. We were laughing. We were playing, Smash Bros. And video games and card games and Magic the Gathering. It was just, it was like a very vibey time in my life. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's everybody's first, interaction with weed is, it's a very fun thing, and then later on in life, you kind of see it as a habit. You're spending a lot of money on it, but that's further in the video. Okay, let me stop jumping the gun. I'm actually reading off bullet points I made in my notes, so I'm not reading completely off of paper. That's my biggest thing that make my videos better. Like I said, I haven't made a YouTube video in a very long time, but that's one thing that I actually do fumble a lot. Like, I'll write a script and I'll read the script word for word, bar for bar, and I sound like a robot. So I made some bullet points just to read off, so I don't sound like a robot. But yeah, I started smoking weed in 2018. It was 8th grade going into 9th grade, right? I feel that's a lot. I feel like that's a lot of people when they started smoking weed. It was that 8th grade summer going into 9th grade. I don't know what made everybody start smoking weed at that time, but a lot of my friends, a lot of people, around the world, that is when they started blowing that gas, all right? And like I said, I wasn't smoking weed consistently. It was just, at a party with my friends, it wasn't too rare, but it wasn't every day. It wasn't every single day, right? And here's when I started smoking weed very consistently, and that was during 2020. Yes, the lockdown, the big C. The big C came in, and everybody was locked in. I don't even gotta explain what happened, guys. You were fucking there. Let's be real. You were there. Everybody was locked inside. Everybody was playing Warzone and Brawlhalla and Fortnite. It was just, dopamine maxing. I guess that's what the kids call it now. Dopamine maxing. That's what we were doing in 2020. Straight dopamine maxing, right? One huge thing for me when I did start smoking weed consistently was I lost a lot of weight, which is kind of crazy to even think about. I know that happens to a lot of people. I actually lost a decent amount of weight, and I think that's because, because also I graduated 2021, so that would have been my junior year in high school. I had to count. I forget. I always get junior and sophomore confused, but yeah, that was my junior year of high school. I came back. I left school, COVID, and I came back the next year, a senior. I lost a ton of weight. I'm not gonna lie, I was a fat kid, right? I'm not gonna lie, I was a heavier set kid. I didn't exercise a lot. I was on the game all the time. I was eating school pizza every fucking day. I was eating school pizza. Oh my god, the school bacon pizza, bro. Stop, bro. That shit was so gas, bro. The school bacon pizza was fucking gas, bro. So I was eating pizza every single day at fucking school. COVID hit, and I was at the crib blowing down gas, bro. I was smoking blunts all day, every day, bro. Smoking blunts all day, every day, hopping on Fortnite, hopping on Warzone. It actually made me become a literal fucking twig, bro. I was skinny as hell, and I actually really enjoyed it, bro, because when I went back to school, bro, everyone's like, yo, Sleeping, yo, sure, bro, you're skinny as fuck, bro, how did you get so fucking skinny? And I think that kind of encouraged me to smoke more weed, or to smoke consistently, because I was losing weight. I could have exercised. By the way, I had no muscle mass whatsoever. I had no muscle at all. I was just a fucking twig. But, it was cool. I don't give a fuck. I was fucking skinny. I was fat, 11 years of school. I was fat through, kindergarten through 11th grade. 12th grade, I was a fucking twig. So I really did enjoy, being skinny senior year because of marijuana, because of the za, because of the weed, right? It was a fun time. It was a fun time in my life. But, I'm 23 now. So I was what? 18, 17. I graduated when I was 18. So I was like 17, 18 in high school, or like senior year, and then I graduated, and then I'm 23, right? But I'm jumping ahead. And now times changed, you know? Like I said, I was 18, I'm 23 now. Times changed, you know? I was smoking with my friends, you know, we had 420 parties and whatnot. Shit was fucking lit. You know, I was smoking weed very, very, very consistently growing up, you know, just, you know, through that little teenage, you know, end of teenage years, you know, I was definitely smoking a lot of weed. But, you know, as I was becoming an adult, I was like, yo, times are changing. A lot of my friends were having kids. A lot of my friends were moving. A lot of my friends were having kids. They were not smoking weed all day, every day anymore. And I really couldn't believe it. I was like, bro, we used to smoke blunts back to back to back, you know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, 8 months ago. This year, we're smoking blunts back to back to back. Now, bro, someone, yeah, bro, I got a baby on the way, bro. I got a baby on the way, bro. I can't be spending money. I was like, bro, we were just smoking weed, bro. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't spend money on gas? Like, that's just fucking crazy, bro. A lot of my friends stopped smoking weed. A lot of my friends, you know, just had different aspects in life. They did not want to smoke weed all day anymore. They, you know, they were having kids. They were going to college. They were moving to college. You know what I mean? So they didn't have plugs. When you move 2 states away for school, you know, do you want to find a plug in your college? You know, do you want to run that risk of getting like bad weed, laced weed, you know, anything like that? Or do you want to just stop smoking weed altogether? Do you want to just stop the habit altogether? I started smoking alone. You know, I kind of isolated myself. I started smoking alone. I was not smoking as consistently. I mean, I was smoking more consistently, but I was just smoking alone. So I feel like that was a very big thing. You know, I used to be, you know, smoking at parties, smoking with my friends, but I started smoking more alone. I was isolating myself. And that was a big reason why I kind of want to stop smoking weed. I was like, you know, it's not the same. You know, the weed is not the same. The interactions are not the same. I'm smoking weed all day by myself. It is not the same. So that was in like, you know, 2020, 2021, 2022. We're going to jump forward to 2023. And during 2023, guys, I'm being real with y'all, bro. I'm being so real with you guys, and hopefully you guys do appreciate that. Hopefully you guys can, you know, like I said, compare and contrast and, you know, hear what I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. But I had an ex-girlfriend, right? In 2023, I got a girlfriend. I started dating this girl, and she smoked weed, right? And, you know, I thought that was so cool. And it was cool. I'm not going to lie. It was cool. You know, I found somebody to smoke weed all day with, right? And that was actually so detrimental to my health. I'm not going to cap to you guys. Me smoking weed all day with this girl was very detrimental to my health, okay? We were very, what's the word, sedentary? We were very sedentary. We were not exercising. We're not going out the house a lot. We were literally smoking weed and door dashing all the fucking time. And she had a med card, right? So we were getting, you know, top shelf weed, top shelf gas, you know, and we were just smoking, you know, it was fun. You know, she'd bring friends over. We would smoke with her friends, blah, blah, blah. We were not getting out the house. We're not going on walks. We're not going outside. We weren't going to the gym. We were just smoking weed, door dashing, watching Netflix, watching YouTube. It was like, you know, I mean, it was, I don't regret it, you know, because I learned a lot. If I was still in that spot, I would not be making this video. You feel me? So I don't regret it at all. But, you know, it was definitely a factor in my life. It was very detrimental to my health. You know what was even more detrimental to my health? When I was dating this girl, she was already doing it, but I started smoking dabs, okay? I started smoking dabs. If you don't know what dabs are, dabs is like really concentrated weed, right? If you guys ever, you know, crush up a weed nug, I just smacked my mic, sorry. If you guys ever crush up a weed nug with your fingertips, you know, you guys know how when your like fingers are sticky, what dabs are is they're getting all that sticky shit out of the nug and they're like concentrating it, right? So it's very, very, very highly concentrated weed. So when you smoke a blunt, right, you might smoke half a blunt, you know, more than half of the blunt. Okay, yeah, I'm good for right now. You know, that's enough. I'm pretty fried, bro. When you hit a dab, bro, you can over dab and you can't really do anything about it. You know what I mean? You're just like stuck in that really high state, right? So my tolerance for weed rose. I was getting extremely, extremely, extremely fried, you know? And quick story, right? I was in art class. I don't know who the hell told me this. Till this day, I always think, who the hell told me this, right? There was this girl in my art class and we started talking about weed and I wasn't doing dabs yet, right? I think it was like probably like a freshman or a junior when this conversation happened. You know, I brought up the topic of weed and dabs and she was like, don't do dabs. If you start smoking weed, never do dabs. My brother did dabs and he went crazy. And I was like, what? He went crazy? Like, what's that even mean? I don't know, but I don't want to say I went crazy. I definitely didn't go crazy, but there definitely is a difference between smoking, you know, flower and then smoking like dabs. You know, dabs is like a very, very, very highly concentrated weed. So I was getting absolutely fried out of my mind. And, you know, we're going to flash forward. I broke up with that girl. We're going to flash forward about a year later. So we're in 2024 now, right? We're in 2024. And I went to the doctor, okay? I went to the doctor. I think it's got like a regular checkup, I think. I just went to the doctor. I actually had a new doctor. He's like super cool. Really cool doctor. When I checked into the doctor, he asked me if I smoked, or like I had to write down if I smoked. And I said, yeah, I smoke weed, you know? And when the doctor actually came in the room, he was like, hey, you smoke weed? I was like, yeah. He goes, why do you smoke weed? The doctor asked me, why do you smoke weed? And I kid you not, I had no idea why I was smoking weed. And I kind of lied. I was like, you know, anxiety, you know, I'm stressing about things. I was lying. He could definitely tell I was lying my ass off, bro. And the doctor, he's a doctor, you know, he knows what he's talking about. He said, hey, it took us 20 years, 20, 30 years to figure out what are in cigarettes. Found it was, you know, cat pee and tar and dog poop and all this crazy stuff, right? He said it's going to take us a good amount of time to figure out what's in weed. You know, it's going to figure out what's in this new weed, you know, like what's in this dispensary weed and all, you know, all this, like, it's going to take us some time to figure out what's all in this medical shit, right? You know, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't trying to hear him. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't trying to hear that. I was like, man, this doctor, he knows what he's talking about. But I was not trying to hear this doctor, right? So I kind of just ignored it. I was like, man, I'm gonna keep smoking gas. I'm gonna keep blowing this Za. I'm gonna keep rolling up these fucking White Owls, bro. I don't give a heck. I don't give a heck, right? Also, another thing my doctor told me was start taking D3, and I started taking D3. That's the only thing I listened to. Shout out my doctor. Really cool guy. I started taking D3 consistently, right? But like I said, I did not stop smoking weed. You know what's worse? You know what's worse than that? I got a med card. You know, I broke up with my girlfriend. She was the one that had the med card. She was getting us weed. So I was getting weed, you know, from street plugs, right? So I was like, yo, let me get a little bit more professional, and I got a med card. Okay, I got a med card. You guys don't know what a med card is. You know, you call a doctor, you get this physical card, and then you can go into a dispensary and get, you know, weed without, you know, going to a street plug, you know, like get weed illegally, basically, right? It was cool, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I was buying, guys, listen. Also, I forgot to say, we're gonna jump up. So what year did I say we were in? 2023, 2024. We're gonna jump to 2025. That's when I got my med card, was in 2025, right? I got my med card, and guys, I'm telling you, when you first go into a dispensary, they have some crazy deals. And the first deal that my dispensary had was 50% off everything you get. Bro, I got ounces, I got carts, I got dabs, I got edibles, I got grinders. Bro, I cleared the dispo out, bro. I got everything out the dispo, bro. It was lit. It was lit, bro. The dispo era was lit, bro. And, you know, flash forward maybe like 6 months from I started going to the dispo. I was going to dispo, you know, every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks to a month. Every 3 weeks to a month, I was going to the dispo, right? And I would just get a bunch of shit, right? So, no joke, guys. I was probably spending $200, $250, $300 every time I was at the dispensary. I am not joking. I'm getting an ounce of weed. I'm getting 2 carts. I'm getting 2 grams of dab. And I'm getting a bag of edibles, bro. That's what I would... That was my dispensary order every time. I was at the dispo every single day. No, I lied. Every single month, I was dropping $200, $300 at the dispo. Going crazy. Going absolutely crazy. One time... Okay, now, after this, I kind of knew I had an issue with weed, right? I'm like, bro... I'm spending a lot of money. I'm not hanging out with friends. I'm smoking alone. You know, I don't really need to be doing this. I kind of had that thought when I started going to dispo, but I was just so excited, you know, to have my own med card. I didn't even care. I was like, bro, this is so much fun. I have all this weed. You know, they're telling me, oh, try this strain, try this. Also, bro, shout out to the people at dispo. They're super chill. They were, you know, offering me shit, giving me, you know, tips and tricks, bro. Like, it was really cool, right? I kid you not. Dude, one time I was sitting in my room, and I was smoking a blunt. I got halfway through the blunt, and I literally said out loud, I don't think I need this. Because, you know, I wasn't satisfied. You know, I was smoking the blunt, mid-blunt. I was like, I don't think I'm really satisfied with this. You know what I mean? But I didn't care. I just kept smoking. Like, I didn't know why I was smoking, but I was still smoking. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. I actually tried switching strains of weed, right? I was smoking mainly indica. You guys don't know what indica does? Shout out the guy at the smoke shop that said this to me 5 years ago. He said, indica, couch. Yes, you heard it right. Indica, couch. When you smoke indica, you get tired, you get lazy, you get lethargic. You know, you're in the couch, you're comfortable. the indica makes you comfortable. And I knew that. So I was like, yo, let me try switching to indica. Right? I said, let me try switching to indica. You know, indica is supposed to, allegedly, indica is supposed to make you like energized, you know, just go for a run, go for a walk, blah, 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 all that crazy stuff. The unfortunate thing is when I switched to sativa is I wasn't getting the same feeling I was getting from indica, right? So that made me smoke more weed, right? So just say I was smoking, just say I would roll the blunt, right? And I would smoke indica, I could get through half the blunt, maybe even the full blunt. I would say, okay, I'm good off the weed, bro. Off the fucking sativa, bro, I needed like a blunt and a half and like a bong rip just to get fried. That's what I needed to do off the fucking indica or off the sativa. And that's when I was like, okay, I think I should slow down. Also, I forgot to mention, I've never taken a tolerance break, okay? If you guys don't know what a tolerance break is, a tolerance break is when you like, when the weed isn't hitting like it used to. So you take your break so your body can like readjust. So when you get fried the next time, it'll only take a hit or two. You know, oh my God, I'm toasted. You feel me? I've never, after smoking from, like I said, from 2018 to 2025 to 2026, I've never taken a tolerance break at all, ever. About 30 days ago, I just had the decision. I'm going to stop smoking weed cold turkey. I'm going to stop smoking weed right here, right now. I'm just going to stop it. 30 days ago, actually like 33 days ago now, but yeah, about like 30 days ago, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put the weed down. And that's exactly what I did. You know, I told my parents, I told my sister, they were really proud of me. You know, they never really had an issue with me smoking weed, but I saw the issue within myself. You feel me? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut cold turkey, right? So I had to go to work, right? So I smoked half a blunt and I came home and I stared at that half a blunt. I was like, bro, I'm done, bro. I will never probably smoke that half a blunt again. Will I smoke weed again in the future? Potentially. Will I smoke weed again? I think I will smoke weed again, but right now, I'm not where I want to be at in life, and weed isn't helping, right? Guys, I'm 23. I'm still in college. I'm still in school. I have a really good job, but I can be doing more, right? I could be dropping more content. I could be making more videos. I can be streaming more. There's so much more I can be. I can be exercising. Guys, I've been going to the gym nonstop, or I've been exercising a lot. Like since I stopped smoking weed, bro, I've been at the gym so consistently in these last 30 days, bro. And I've been like walking my dog, been outside a lot. You know, I've been, guys, also I lost like, guys, I kid you not, since I stopped smoking weed, I lost like 10 pounds, 10, 15 pounds, which is crazy, which is like a really good thing, right? I was like 240, 245, bro. I'm like 230 now, bro. No, I lied. I'm like 225. I bounce around. I bounce around from like, dude, the lowest I was at was 223, and now I'm at like 226. But I am losing weight. Because also, since I was smoking weed, when I was smoking weed, I was lying to myself a lot. bro. I was lying to myself a lot. One big lie I told myself is I don't get the munchies anymore. I don't know why I told myself that. You guys don't know what the munchies are. You're crazy. But munchies, like, when you smoke weed, you get hungry, you know? So I would get, you know, I'd smoke weed. I'd go upstairs. I just raid my kitchen, bro. I just get PB&Js and chips and all this cereal, bro. I was eating like crazy, bro. But now that I stopped smoking weed, bro, my appetite is like not there. I mean, it's there, but I'm not eating as much and don't really need to eat as much, which is good. And that's also like I'm exercising, I'm walking a lot, I'm doing cardio. That's like a big reason why I stopped smoking weed. And like I said, smoking weed, it's kind of crazy how I said it at the beginning of the video. Like when I started smoking weed, I lost weight, and then I stopped smoking weed and I'm losing weight. It's kind of crazy how that works, bro. I'm not a twig anymore. If you guys didn't know that. I used to be a twig. I'm not a twig anymore. I'm trying to get back. I'm trying to be a twig again, but I'm trying to, you know, have some muscle mass as well. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, like I said, I do see myself, guys, when I get my own apartment or my own house, and, you know, I grinded, you know, because right now, guys, I'm in my grind phase, right? I should be grinding super. I'm in my early 20s, right? I should be grinding super hard, grinding money, saving money, you know, exploring, trying things out, you know, learning, blah, blah, blah. The end of my 20s, you know, 20, 27, 28, 29, 30, blah, blah, blah. That's when I should be settled down. Not settled down completely. You know, I should still be out there exploring, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that's when I should have my own apartment. You know, that's when I should have, you know, hopefully earlier than that, to be honest, but have my own place. You feel me? And when I get there, that's when I feel like I can start smoking weed again. Because, you know, I already grinded. You know, right now, I should be grinding nonstop, you know? But the weed was definitely holding me back. The weed was holding me back. In conclusion, that's about it, guys. That is about it. This was a 23-minute yap session. And another thing, right? You guys, when I was like, before I was stopping smoking weed, I was getting, you know, videos on Instagram Reels. I was getting videos on TikTok of people like, I'm gonna stop smoking weed, you know, other people just talking about, you know, their stopping smoking weed experience. And if you go to the comments, there's always that one guy that's like, yo, I smoke 2 blunts and then I go for a run and then I fucking go to the gym and then I come home from the gym and then I go to work and then after work I come home to my 3 kids. I'm happy for that guy that has a healthy connection with weed. I'm happy that that guy has a healthy connection with marijuana, right? If I smoke 2 blunts and try to go for a run, I'm not going outside, bro. I'm putting on Netflix. I'm laying in the bed. You know what I mean? So I just didn't have a healthy relationship with weed. You know, later in life, you know, I can probably, you know, get back into weed, you know, try it out again. But as of right now, I just had to stop. You feel me? And I got out 30 days. I am 30 days plus free from weed. And I feel amazing. Like I said, I feel amazing. So I'm going to wrap this video up. Hopefully you guys found something cool or interesting in this video. And thank you guys for watching. I think this video is going to do very well. I just feel like people were going to... We'll see. Let me shut the fuck up. Let me just shut the fuck up and just drop the video and see what happens, okay? But thank you guys for watching. Sleep well, brush your teeth, and I will catch you guys in the next one.